Welcome to another episode of my videos about all my coloring books and colored pictures. In this video there will be a lot of kings, queens, gods and goddesses. I want to start from the children's series of Livre. I have several books from this series and I love all of them. Despite double-sided books and quite simple quality, it's a pleasure to color in them. Paper is average, but I managed to color here even with budget pencils, and pictures, they are amazing. Most of all, I like that they published in this series books illustrated by John Green and by Martin Noble. And if with Martin Noble they did very wise thing, so they reprinted this children edition into more adult coloring. I think that they did one-sided book with the same pictures. Unfortunately, all books by John Green, and he created a lot of them, all are beautiful. They exist, as far as I know, only in this children edition, but I don't mind. In this children edition we have picture and also a little bit of history about English king or queen, also quite instructive. And so far here I did 3 pictures. As I said, I can work here with many pencils. Yes, I can't use watercolor, but I can use Sucolor, I can use Arteza, I can use Derwent Color Softs. So pencils which I don't use very frequently, but here everything worked quite well. I did King Henry VI. Not very happy fate, and here we have very dramatic moment of the murdery. I really love to color all the details on the kings or queens costumes, all their jewelry, beautiful velvet or silk fabric. Here I think that he has velvet, and I really try to show it. Very interesting, very nice. I really want to do this one. And where is them? And this one, so Richard the Lionheart. But I hadn't colored them yet, but instead I did Queen Mary, poor Queen Mary, also not very happy alive. But I think that here I managed at least to try to dress her beautifully. The biggest problem was how to do the window behind her, but then I remembered those colorful windows which I saw in videos about Hampton Court palaces, and I decided to do similar thing. I think that majority of it I did with Derwent Color Softs, and they work really well on this paper. Yes, sometimes shading on face it's problematic for me, but that's because of my skills, not because of the book. If you love history, I think that this book could be very interesting to do. And finally, I did a moment of King Charles beheaded just in a moment after this picture. Also, it was quite interesting to color all the metal parts, then to I looked at his portraits and I saw portrait which definitely inspired this picture, where he had this beautiful blue coat. I decided that for me it's also perfect choice, perfect contrast to the rest of the clothes which we have here, so I am quite satisfied. And yes, that's Arctic pencils. There are several Sucolor pencils. It's totally possible to color even on such quality. Next, I have these goddesses. It's Martin Noble. You know that I like her. Sometimes maybe there is too many lines in my taste, like on the clothes, but I do love her compositions, how she create not only beautiful image of the goddess and maybe some symbols which associate with the goddess, but also a lot of beautiful frames, plants around, so secondary elements also are very interesting. Here we have portrait and landscape pictures. And again, here I work sometimes with more professional Prismacolor pencils, where I needed more soft blending here for the sky. But sometimes I work with my subcolor pencils, especially I use them on the Egypt series, and they also are really good on this paper. I need to do something in Greek series here. It's totally abandoned. Next, I have this Mayan goddess. It was quite interesting to learn at least a little bit from this culture, because I am not very familiar but very interested. Here, beautiful picture. I really enjoyed selecting colors here and coloring this white buffalo woman. Here I am not sure that I did the right thing. Something with these bottom flowers, well, they distracting attention from the lady. But I do love how I did her hair. Lovely pictures, simple, cheap book, but it will give you a lot of pleasure. In my collection I have various books dedicated to gods and goddesses, and I'm happy because it's one of my favorite Sam. I would love to collect even more from various artists, because every time it's very interesting to see how they look at the story, how they look at the myth or legend, which elements they select, how they represent these characters. So here I have a book by Jesh Lee. It's my one and only book, even if I do love his other arts, but I realize that, oh well, in this one I have so many pictures that I never will be able to color in other books. And yes, for a couple of years it was laying on the shelf, totally untouched, but finally this year I started it. I actually enjoyed it a lot, because I decided to use my favorite technique for the thin paper, and paper is thin. So markers for the background and polychromos pencils, together with a little bit of Prismacolors, but mostly polychromos for the main image. I did it quickly, I enjoyed every moment. So now I have the Prometheus. I added a little bit of elements from myself. I did more prominent scars, and I added blood in several areas to make it more dramatic, to show that part of the story where each time the heart of the Prometheus it was eaten by the eagle, and the chest was cut by the claws, and then again and again on repeat the same torture. So that's why I decided to make it a little bit more bloody, to add more red color. I already know which will be my next project. I really want to do the Dionysus. I can imagine all colors here. I just don't have time. But pictures are lovely. Once you get used to the paper, which is thin, you can color it easily. I decided that, okay, I don't care that on the part with the story I will have stains from markers. I know stories for almost all of creatures here, because mostly here we have Greek mythology, so I don't need to keep them. But markers really help to work with thin paper. Do I have some yellow stains here? Probably yes. Not very happy moment. I don't know why. Well, we will see. Anyway, I plan, of course, to return to it. Maybe next year I will need to do a marathon. One of the books will be maybe this one, and second again Colorless Kingdom, which I actively started to color in the beginning of this year and then again dropped, and in the end of the year I hadn't touched it, which is very sad. So this one will have to wait for me. Next I have Norse mythology, and it's by Jade Summer. Now it's a very rare book. I think that very quickly they had some problems, maybe with the copyrights, so it disappeared very quickly. And it was one of my first books from Jade Summer in such edition where we have picture and black paper here. Here I started to color. I didn't have my markers yet, so it's an old book. I started to work mostly with pencils, sometimes with markers. I did several not bad pictures, but then I did a big mistake. On this one, I decided to do a watercolor background. Of course, it didn't work on this thin paper. I decided to iron it, and it was the stupidest thing, because all the black paint, during the heat from the iron, it dirtied all pictures. Yes, I have now stains here, stains on this finished picture, so that's why it looks so gloomy and dark. But, well, of course, after that I stopped to color here. I was very disappointed, but book is lovely. And you know what, now I start to appreciate that actually here we have two copies. I can forget about that unfortunate, unlucky first part of the book, and I can color the second part. I have no idea if it's available somewhere on Etsy. I wish I know the real name of the artist, because drawings, they are amazing. One of the best portraits and huge amount of interesting details, big attention to the details. Really lovely book, and so sad that it's unavailable, but I am lucky to have it, and of course I intend to return to it. Now all those memories about messed up pictures, it's just a history. I did it maybe 4 years ago, so maybe it's time to forgive myself and to return to it. But why I don't return to this one? Because all my efforts, when I have free time, I dedicate to Kolorowanka goddesses, where I have slow progress, and especially during this year. During previous year I did more pictures, but still progress is slow, but I do love the book. And let me show you what I currently have here. As usual, I forgot to put bookmarks, but yes, that's normal. Last Halloween I did this Caridwen, which is actually Celtic goddess, but for me she works perfectly as one of witch pictures. When I also started to work here with markers and with pencils, work started to go much easier. I stopped to struggle with the background, and yeah, even if paper of course is bad, I can clearly see even almost damaged areas of the paper. You know that I'm heavy-handed even with Prismacolors, so when I did blending on the sleeves, on the dress, I can see now that it has like waves. Paper is slightly damaged and I can't iron it. So it's disadvantage of working on thin paper, but it's one of the books which I am ready to forgive. The bad quality, because pictures are very lovely. Many of these pictures I did during the first months when the war started. It was one of the few books which I took with myself when I left home, and it really helped me to distract me. So I did several those pictures. The pencil background, that's awful, but I didn't have markers with me. Here I used a lot of acrylic paint. You can use acrylic here because it doesn't require a lot of water. For all snow pictures, it's very helpful here. This year I mostly dedicated my time to the Egyptian part. Next year I plan to work more on this northern mythology, Celtic and Norse mythology, which I have in the second part of the book. So in Egyptian part, now I have this Nais, goddess of water, if I remember correctly. Well, of course, to do skin, it's not very easy on this paper, but I tried different color combos with Prismacolor, with polychromos. Prismacolors for now, they are easier for me to use here. And mostly I used here burnt ochre to make her skin slightly darker. I love to color Egyptian pictures because I do love those turquoise, aquamarine, vibrant red colors. This one I did completely with pencils, and especially with budget pencils like Black Widow, Monarch. They are terrible on this paper, too dry and too hard. So I wouldn't recommend them. I was tempted to use Black Widow set for darker skin tones. They didn't work on this paper at all. It was awful. But Arteza pencils, which I used here, they work quite well. They are more creamier. They are much more adapted to this paper. You can use them. And of course, markers. They help me to color quick and easy background. Still a couple of pictures which I need to color in this part. Sometimes I feel like I'm repeating the same color palette, but well, I think that Egyptian art, Egyptian jewelry, they have limited color palette, so that's why all my pictures, they look similar to one another. What a beauty. Here I have Maud. When everything went quite well, I was very happy with her face, with her jewelry, but then on the last time I somehow decided that this blue, it's not what I like, and I decided to sprinkle it with white paint, like create maybe drops of water or impression of, don't know, petals from the lotus, and I didn't calculate right amount of paint and water, so I have now these ugly stains. Oh well, it happens. I never concentrate on such things. And I think that next beauty I will do Isis, and then I will go to the Celtic and Norse mythology. Those Egyptian pictures, I mostly did them this year. The rest, it's work of previous years. All the ladies, they are so beautiful. For a long time I want to do this one. I remember how much fun I had coloring this beauty. It's Iris. I decided that she will have wings from two parts, gold and feathers, and actually the rainbow. Very nice. Another beautiful lady. It's Prismacolor pencils. Here are markers and polychromases. I still love her dress. I think that it was one of my best ideas to try this color combo for the dress. And it's another one which I want to do. Here I have Nemesis. This one I also did immediately after beginning of the war. I remember the time when I started to color again. Finally, Athena. I also think that it's one of the best pictures here. You know that I love to color all such things like armor, metals, so it was a pleasure to color her shield, her sword, and of course her helmet. Demeter, well, I don't know, maybe something isn't quite right with vibrancy of green which I selected for the background. Yes, she is a goddess of nature, of fertility, but maybe with slightly less vibrant green it would be better. But I did it when I didn't have my Ohuhu markers. I had my old Copics, I had Arctics, but with narrow tips, so my color choice was limited. And that's all. Lovely book. If you can still get it, maybe in digital edition, maybe somewhere second hand, I can recommend this one. It's a pity that now Kolorowanka started to produce some children level books. Well, I think that for me it's a drop of quality of publisher. And finally, I decided to include in this part Christine Karen, simply because I forgot to include it in the previous videos. I have currently two books, and the first I got, it was Fairies. I was familiar with the name of Christine Karen. I admired her full color works. I followed her videos, her Instagram, but when I got the book, I realized that I can't color it. It's grayscale, paper is average, not very thin, but still, for such grayscale, I don't know, maybe paper have to be watercolor quality to be able somehow to cover this black. I'm not a big fan of grayscale. Yes, sometimes it's helpful, but sometimes it could be a little bit too much. And that's what I think about this book. There are many lovely pictures, but when you saw them in full color, you have no idea how to color them when they were transformed in such dark grayscale. Like how to color this hair. If I want my mermaid to have light turquoise or purple color, and I already have such dark undertone. Not easy. And on the face also. I saw this beauty in full color, but with such undertone of gray, it will be very difficult to color. The same thing with those north wind fairies. Two pictures, a very dark background. You can clearly see that initially it was watercolor. How to color it on such paper and with such gray shading, I don't know. So I hadn't touched this book. For several years I hadn't colored anything from Christine Karen, just admired her works. But then, happy moment, Blue Angel published this beauty, Wildflower Folk. Of course, I immediately got it, but I realized that now, even if I have beautiful pictures in totally different quality, that's what means of great publisher, great book, and transformed in very delicate grayscale pictures. You can color it with watercolors, you can color it with pencils, and both with wax-based opaque pencils and with polychromos transparent oil-based pencils, so it's your choice. You can't work here with anything, because they really did very nice work on line art and on shading. But I was afraid to start this beauty, so it waited for a couple of years. But this October I did a huge step forward. I did my first pictures with inspired by Halloween or inspired by fall season. As a first project I decided to do a watercolor background, and then main image I did with Prismacolors. I did this frame myself. I limited it with masking tape. Maybe I had to do it bigger to be able to do more interesting watercolor background. But still I think that she is lovely, and I started to appreciate grayscale. I do love to do this ash blonde or platinum blonde color of hair, but on white paper it's extremely difficult to achieve. Even if you blend those warm gray, French gray colors together with some beige, it always looks maybe a little bit too yellowish. Here, when I had already pre-printed undertone, it was very easy and very quick work to do desired color of hair. So I was very happy when I did my first picture, when I didn't mess it up, and I realized how much I enjoyed working. I love all books by Blue Angel Publishing. Paper is great for water-soluble media, for Prismacolor pencils especially. So immediately after that one, I did The Last Harvest, which I think that I love even more. Maybe because less attention goes to the background and more attention goes to the girl. Background, first I did with Kohinoor Mondeluz. They didn't work quite well here. I can't recommend them for the background. Watercolor works better. But I covered the least attractive areas of the background with similar colors of Prismacolors. A little bit of powder blue, a little bit of cloud blue, great lavender, and now I have normal sky. It complements the style of the picture, the slightly sad story about last harvest. She also looks quite sad, melancholic, so I think that these background colors, they really add another touch to this idea. I am quite proud of my color palette which I selected here. I immediately knew that I want the green coat in yellow-green colors and her hair in those dark red colors, not even ginger but more red. I think that they worked well together, and when I made final decision about blue dress, it was also a very successful choice, I think. I tried to attract more attention to the last harvest, so I have very vibrant sunflowers, berries, and of course the eggplant. Well, I think that it's really nice autumn work, so far I think that I waited for a long time, but my first pictures here, they gave me a lot of joy. I hope that in the next year Wildflower Folk will be one of my most frequently used books, because this beauty and such quality of book, it deserves to be used much more frequently. I am happy that there are pictures for all seasons, and there are also even a couple of male characters. There are unusual characters like old ladies, which we don't find very frequently in the books, so it's very interesting to select your next project and to color. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this part, and I will return to you quite soon with the next portion of my books.